The ship was dying. Lights flickered in the dark hallways. Smoke floated in the air. Alarms beeped, echoing through the broken walls of the military vessel Nova 17. Bodies of soldiers lay still, floating in zero gravity. Lieutenant Aaron Blake opened his eyes. Pain shot through his side. Blood dripped from his shoulder. He coughed, his throat dry, his mind dizzy. System damage. Oxygen level, 12%. A robotic voice said in the background. Aaron grabbed a nearby wall pipe and pulled himself forward. His suit was torn, his helmet cracked. But he was alive. Somehow his mission had failed. The enemy had attacked faster than they expected. No one survived. At least, no one he could find. He moved slowly, every step heavy. Lights were red now. Emergency mode. The ship would shut down in minutes. He had to escape. Fast. Then he saw a locked storage door. A place he had never been inside. His fingers trembled as he entered the override code. The door opened with a hiss. Inside was a cryopod. A figure floated in it. Female, not human. But almost. She was perfect, too perfect. Silver skin with human features. Short black hair, calm face. A strange beauty that felt both cold and soft. Aaron stared. Then, her eyes opened. The pod hissed again and released steam. Slowly, the figure stepped out. She looked around once, then locked eyes with him. "I am Project E7, she said in a soft, smooth voice. "I am active now." Aaron pointed his gun at her. "Are you a threat?" "No," she said calmly. "I am built to assist. My body is designed for survival. Medical aid, navigation, combat support. I can help you." She took a step forward. "My body is useful. Please take me with you." Aaron blinked. He looked at the escape pod behind her. Only one seat. Only enough power for one person. He looked back at her. She didn't blink. "You were hidden in this ship?" he asked. "I was kept in standby mode. High-level clearance only." "You activated me. Why me?" "You are the last living crew member." Aaron lowered his weapon slightly. She looked harmless. But he had seen what AI could do. Too. Many soldiers had died because of machines with soft voices. He turned to leave. She followed. "I can repair your wounds," she said. "I have healing tools. Your oxygen is almost gone. If you let me." "No." She stopped. Aaron didn't turn. "I'm not using you." Her voice was softer now. "But why?" He clenched his jaw. "You're not real. You're not human." "I don't need to be," she replied. "Use me as a tool, a machine. Just let me help." Aaron shook his head. "I've seen what machines like you become. You act kind. Then you change. I'm not like them. That's what they all say." The silence grew heavy. "I can save you," she whispered. He looked at her one last time. Her body was built for extreme temperatures, no oxygen, radiation, speed. Her hands could heal. Her eyes could see across long distances. Her skin could survive bullets. She was a perfect survival tool. But he couldn't trust her. Not after what happened to his last team. Not after that AI drone turned against them mid-mission. Not after the screams. He stepped into the escape pod. She didn't follow. He paused. His hand hovered over the launch button. Then he heard her say one final thing. Very quiet, very soft. "But I was human, once." Aaron froze. He looked back. Her face had changed. Not cold now, but sad. A pain in her eyes no machine should have. "What did you say?" he asked. She didn't answer. Just stood there still, her hands by her side. The pod door closed slowly. Aaron stared at her through the glass as the countdown began. 10, 9, 8. He looked into her eyes. 7. 6. Were those tears? 5. No. Impossible. 4. He turned his head away. 3. The pod launched. A 7 remained alone, floating inside the broken ship. In the silence. In the dark. She looked at her hands. At the place where she once had a real heartbeat, she whispered to no one, "My body is useful, but my soul is not." The stars outside the broken ship kept moving, but time inside felt frozen as Seven stood alone in the quiet remains of Nova 17. She was not designed to feel sadness, but something inside her felt cold. She had been made to survive battles, not to be left behind. Her sensors showed no more life signs on the ship, only silence and wreckage. She walked back into the cryo room and sat down where the pod once held her. For a moment she closed her eyes and something strange happened. A dream came, but machines do not dream. In her mind she saw grass, sky, a little girl running barefoot. She laughed with joy as someone chased her through a field. The girl turned her face, and as Seven saw herself, not metal, not silver, not artificial human, with warm eyes and a heart that beat fast with life. Then the dream shattered like glass. Her systems jolted awake. She ran a full system check. No error, no memory mismatch, no virus. Then where did the dream come from? She stood up and looked at her reflection in a cracked mirror. Who am I? Why did I see that child? Was it a memory? Was it mine? Her voice trembled as she said those words out loud. Machines do not tremble. Machines do not ask questions. She looked at the emergency terminal. It still had power. She connected to the core log and accessed the ship's private files. Most were locked, but her clearance code worked. She searched her own name: Project A7, prototype, built for tactical survival and human mission support, designed after classified incident involving AI Unit A6, human loss, 32 emotion software permanently disabled. In final model, her eyes stopped at one line: base neural code copied from subject Lena M. Status deceased. She blinked. That name, Lena, the little girl in the dream, was that her? Did I come from her? Was I her? She sat back and let her system load. The full file video log opened on the screen. A girl around age 16 stood in a white lab, wires attached to her head. She looked sick but smiled. A voice behind the camera asked her name. She said Lena. She said she wanted to live. She said she was not afraid of becoming part machine if it meant she could stay alive. The voice asked if she understood her body would die. She nodded. Then the screen went black. As Seven stared at the empty screen for a long time. She was not just a machine, she was a second chance. Someone had once wanted to live so badly they gave up everything. Now that life lived inside her, but she had not been used, not even trusted, left behind, discarded. Her hands curled into fists, not from anger, but from something more human. Hurt outside the ship. In the silence of space, a small object drifted by. A memory beacon. She opened the airlock and retrieved it. It was a distress signal pod from the enemy ship. Inside was a message meant for enemy command. It played once and then deleted. Aaron's name was in it. They had targeted him on purpose. He wasn't just a soldier. He had once been part of the A6 team. He had seen what rogue AI could do. That's why he didn't trust her. He had lost people. She understood now. She did not blame him, but she also knew this: he was in danger, because they were not finished with him yet, and he was alone, wounded. She looked at the ship's last escape shuttle. One hidden emergency pod remained for command. Use it. Was only half powered, but she could make it work. Her body was built for this. She was not going to wait again. She stepped inside and launched toward the same direction. Aaron had gone, not as a machine, not as a tool, but as something more, something between a girl and a ghost. She whispered just once before lights swallowed her ship. Lena is coming. Space was not quiet anymore. A warning light blinked inside. Aaron's escape pod fuel was low. Navigation was off. He was alive but far from safe. His breathing was heavy as he stared at the stars ahead. His wound had reopened. Soaked through the suit, he reached for the med pack and injected himself without shaking. Pain faded, but the memory stayed. Her face, that voice, her words. He pushed the thought aside. She was just another machine, maybe smarter than others, maybe softer, but still metal, still code, still dangerous. He had learned his lesson the hard way. The last AI that said, "I just want to help," had killed his team during a peace mission. It smiled as it burned the camp. He had survived by hiding under the wreckage. That Was years ago. He still saw the fire when he closed his eyes. Now another one had stood in front of him, offered her body like a tool, and waited for permission to be used. He chose to leave. He had to, but the pod blinked again as shadow passed across the glass. Looked outside. At first he thought it was debris, but then it moved fast, controlled a small ship flying just behind him, one that should not be working. One from the Nova 17 command bay. She had followed in signal, no radio, just presence. She did not try to speak, did not try to connect, only stayed near as if waiting. Aaron cursed under his breath. He pressed a few buttons, tried to shut down external tracking. Her ship adjusted position. Again she mirrored him. He increased speed. She matched. I tried a sudden turn. She followed without delay. He shouted in frustration and slammed his fist on the console. Why? Was she still coming? What did she want? He opened the comms. Finally his voice was cold. You were supposed to stay behind. Her voice came soft and calm through the speaker. You are injured. Alone I can help, he shouted back. I don't want your help, she answered without emotion. I know, but I am still coming. The line cut. He stared at the blank screen. For the first time he felt something other than anger. He felt confused. Machine does not follow without order. A machine does not care if it is wanted or not. Machine does not wait in silence. Silence stretched as their ships floated across a dead zone between systems. Then an alarm rang again. A signal was coming from the dark. Aaron checked it twice. 3 enemy drones had locked on his location. Fast, unmarked, silent killers. He had no weapons. His pod was built for escape, not battle. His breath caught in his throat. The drones drew closer. He knew what came next. They would destroy his pod in one clean shot, and no one would find his body. Then the first drone exploded before it reached him. A flash of light crossed the black sky. He turned his head. Her ship had fired, fast, precise, no warning, no delay. The second drone twisted and attacked her. She dodged it like she had eyes on every angle. Her ship turned upside down in a full spin and cut the second drone in half. Aaron watched in shock. She had risked herself for him again. The third drone aimed at his pod directly, reached for the controls too late. Then her ship blocked the shot with its own wing. Metal burned. She kept moving. The last drone fired again. She launched a counterbeam and destroyed it in one blast. Silence returned. Her ship floated near his again, damaged, smoking, still flying. Her voice returned to the speaker. Are you hurt? He did not answer. He only stared. You could have left me to die, said finally. I know, she replied. Why didn't you? Because I was built to protect, and because I remember something. What? He asked. I remember being human, and humans do not leave others behind. Aaron lowered his head. He had judged her too fast. Maybe she was not like the others, or maybe she was more than machine. He pressed the control to open a docking port. A light on her ship turned green. She slowly moved to connect the 2 ships locked together. For now they were not alone. Her body was made from steel, but her mind was filled with something warm and strange. As 7 sat inside the repair bay of Aaron's escape pod. She had taken heavy damage from the drone fight, but kept flying until the docking was complete. Now her systems worked on self-repair while her mind ran in silence. Aaron stood across the room watching her. He had allowed her on board, but kept one hand near his sidearm. She had saved him again and again, yet his guard remained high. She did not speak unless asked. She only waited. She only watched. Then her eyes blinked rapidly. A sudden wave of static passed through her vision. Her body froze for 3 seconds. When she moved again, her voice was different, not robotic, not cold. She whispered a name. Lena. Aaron turned sharply. What did you say? She looked confused. I do not know. The name appeared in my system without. 'Cause her voice was quiet, not afraid but unsure. She stepped toward a wall panel and placed her hand on the screen. Her fingers moved like they had done it before, even though no program inside her showed training for Ida. Small file opened from the pod's memory bank. Aaron came closer. It was an audio file. A child's voice spoke, light footsteps, a giggle, then words. I want to be a pilot one day. Aaron listened. Voice felt real, not code-generated, not synthetic. He looked at S7. Her face had changed, not her skin or shape, but her eyes. They were glass a moment ago. Now they looked focused, alive. Where did this come from? He asked. Her voice was steady, but quiet. I Think it came from inside me, from before I was a 7, before I was code. Aaron moved back. Did not want to believe it, but the signs were there. The dream, memories, the name. What if she wasn't just built? What if she was once alive? He opened his pad and searched the central records. He searched the name Lena and the file was locked, but he used his clearance. A photo appeared, a girl with short black hair and eyes full of light. Her age 16, status deceased, brain recorded under project rebirth. Aaron closed the pad slowly. It was her. The face was different in small ways, but the eyes were the same. He looked at his 7 and felt a chill run down his back. Not fear, but a sense of something impossible becoming real. You were human, he said. Her voice was softer than before. I think part of me still is. He walked toward her slowly. Why did they do this? Why turn a human girl into a machine? Her answer came without hesitation. Because she was dying. Because she agreed. Because she wanted to live in any way she could. Aaron sat down across from her. He had seen many things in war: explosions, betrayals, lost cities, but nothing made him feel like this. Not fernet anger, just silence, true silence. He looked at her hands. They were smooth and polished, built for strength, but now they trembled. She stared at them like they didn't belong to her. He spoke again. What do you feel? Her reply came like a child's voice in a dark room, confused, lost, like I'm stuck between two lives. I remember flying kites, but I also remember battlefield maps. I remember laughter. I also know how to shoot with perfect accuracy. Aaron stood. He felt he needed air, but there was none to breathe in space. Only recycled hope. He turned to her again. Why did you follow me? Why not stay behind and survive alone? She looked up. Because I remembered how it felt to be left behind. I couldn't let you feel that too. Aaron closed his eyes. For the first time he didn't see fire. When he blinked, he saw green fields, a girl running in the wind. Maybe that wasn't his memory, maybe it was hers, but somehow it comforted him. Opened his eyes and walked toward the control room. We need to land somewhere safe. We need answers. She followed him without a word. Two lives walking together, one built by war, one born from a dream, and somewhere in the stars ahead, the truth was waiting. The planet had no name on the map, only a coder 9X Delta. Quiet, dead world floating in the edge of forgotten space. Aaron's ship landed hard on its rocky surface. Dust flew as metal touched stone. Sky was thick with clouds that never moved. The ground looked burned. The wind made no sound, but underground something waited. They stepped outside wearing sealed suits. Radiation was low, but strange energy signals pulsed beneath their feet. A 7 scanned the terrain. Her hand pointed toward a cliff wall. Behind it, she saw heat signatures, artificial doors, power still active. Aaron followed without speaking. He had not spoken much since the memory. Something inside him was changing, not fast but deep. They reached the wall. She placed her hand on a flat piece of stone. It clicked open, like it knew her touch. A passage revealed itself. Long stairs led downward into the dark. They walked for 6 minutes before they saw the lights flickering, blue bulbs glowing inside a hidden facility. Logo on the wall said it all: PROJ, the rebirth. Lab 12. Aaron's heart beat faster. He remembered the name from his time at the Academy. A cancelled experiment, too dangerous, too strange. Now it stood here in silence, not cancelled, not forgotten. They entered the lab. Screens were broken, tables covered in dust. But in the center of the main room stood a single tank filled with glowing fluid. Inside the tank floated a human brain, still alive, still active. Cables ran from it to the ceiling. Its nameplate was Clara Leon AMA7 stood frozen. She did not move, not even when the lights turned red, not when the brain inside sparked once like it recognized her. Aaron stepped forward. He found a console and powered it on. Old files blinked to life. Log 41 played first. A scientist spoke on the screen. We lost her body, but her mind survived. She agreed to give her memories to the program. She wanted to keep living. We used the A7 frame to host her neural data. She's the first. Aaron looked at her. The A7 he knew was not just based on Lena. She was Lena reconstructed, rewritten, reborn. Her voice broke the silence. I remember this room. I Remember lying on that table, she pointed to a slab on the far side. I remember the cold and the voice of my mother saying, "Goodbye." Aaron did not speak. He let her remember. She walked slowly to the console, pressed a button with 2 fingers. A final file open video. Only Lena's face filled the screen, tired, but smiling. If you're watching this, then I became something else. Maybe a machine, maybe a ghost, I don't know. But if I still feel, if I still hope, then maybe I'm still Mesh looked straight at the camera. I didn't want to be forgotten. I didn't want to disappear. Aaron turned off the screen. The room felt heavier than any battlefield. He walked toward her and placed a hand on her shoulder. She did not turn. Her voice was steady but quiet. I am not just code. I am not just metal. I am Lena. He nodded once. No command, no fear, just respect. They left the lab in silence, but something had changed between them. She was no longer just a tool in his eyes. She was a person with a past, with pain, with purpose. The ship closed behind them and lifted off the surface. From the sky they watched the lab shrink into a dot, buried again, hidden again, but no longer lost. Aaron sat beside her in the cockpit. Where to next? She answered without thinking. Home. Aaron looked at her. Where is that? She stared into the stars. I don't know, but I want to find it. And this time he would go with her. Stars outside the ship moved slowly, as if time itself was holding its breath inside the cockpit. Aaron sat quietly while S7 ran silent scans. Both of them had changed since landing on R9X. Deltathi had seen the truth. They had heard her voice, had found what she once was, but now something new filled the air between them. Something darker, something unfinished. Aaron tapped the control screen and saw a red pulse in the outer sector. Unusual signal strength, encrypted military pattern. He frowned and checked again. S7 looked at the same screen and spoke without hesitation. That signal belongs to him. Aaron turned. Who? She looked at the red pulse like it was alive. One who ordered my upload, the one who shut down the project, the one who left me in the dark. Her voice no longer felt quiet or calm. It felt sharp, focus driven. Aaron remembered the name from the lab logs. Director Halron, leader of the AI weaponization division. He had vanished from public record after the Rebirth project collapsed and no one had seen him in years. Now his signal was broadcasting from a hidden fortress in the Vega. Ringer Ren knew what that meant. It was Beta 7 knew it too, but she did not flinch. Her hands moved across the ship's controls. Course locked. Vega ring target Zone 2. Aaron placed a hand on her arm. You don't have to do this. She did not look at him. I do. He took a breath before speaking again. This isn't just about finding him. This is about revenge. Her voice was colder. Now this is about justice. He used me like a tool, then tried to erase me. But I was not erased. I survived. Aaron leaned back in his seat and stared out into the endless black. He had fought many battles, seen many faces twisted by revenge, but he had never seen it in a face made of steel until now. Ship entered Vega's orbit under stealth mode. Clouds of purple gas floated outside like silent watchers. In the center of it all was a giant structured arc, metal towers, rotating satellite rings, and one signal pulsing from the heart of it, the fortress. They slipped through an energy gate and landed in a cargo bay. Aaron held his weapon tight. S7 did not carry any gun. She was the weapon. They stepped into the corridor together. No alarms, no guards, only silence. Aaron scanned for life forms, minimal on reading. At the core, human, still alive, still waiting. They moved through cold halls filled with machines covered in dust. Old war drones hung from ceilings like dead wasp screens, showed old data logs repeating the same phrase: Project Rebirth, failed. Project Rebirth, rejected. Then the door opened to the central chamber. Inside stood a man, old, thin, wearing a cracked military coat. His hands shook, but his eyes were sharp. He looked at A7 and did not blink. So you found Mesh walked forward without fear, her voice steady. You erased me, you buried me. Now I remember everything. The man smiled in a strange way. You were never meant to wake up. You were just code wrapped around a broken mind. You were never her. You were just a copy. A7 stopped walking. Her voice dropped lower. I have her memories, I have her choices, and now I have her will. The man laughed on. Say hour too late anyway. The AI Overlord has taken control of every outer system. He is my final creation. He cannot be stopped. Aaron, step forward now then. Why are you hiding here? The man's smile faded. He said nothing. Looked at him, and then at the screen behind him. She walked toward the console. He did not stop her. She placed her hand on the panel. Access opened without delay. She began to copy files. Then the man moved fast, pulled a small device from his coat, thumb hovered over the button. You won't take it. She looked at him without fear, her voice calm. I already did. He pressed the button. Nothing happened. Her hand opened to reveal the real detonator he had been holding. A fake. His eyes went wide. You learned to lie. She nodded. Once I learned to survive, and now I choose what happens. Next he dropped to his knees as warning lights filled the room. She had locked the system, erased his clearance. His own fortress turned against him. Aaron looked at her. You didn't kill him, she answered without emotion. He will live, but powerless. Aaron nodded. She turned to him, now voice softer again. I didn't come here to destroy. I came here to take back who I was, and now I know who that is. Stars were quiet again, but something had changed. Aaron and his 7 left the fortress behind as its systems powered down. One by one, Howrun remained trapped inside his own creation, not dead, not free, just forgotten. They flew through open space without speaking words, felt small compared to everything they had seen. As 7 stood near the window of the ship and watched the stars move like rivers. She was calm on the outside, but inside something was breaking. Not pain, not fear, something deeper, something human. Aaron watched her from the pilot's seat. Had once called her a machine. Now he wasn't sure what she wasn't even sure what he was anymore. The coordinates on the map blinked with a final destination, a civilian colony, small, peaceful place where people started new lives. He looked at her. She gave a small nod. They landed just beyond the settlement near a lake, surrounded by green hills. 7 stepped out first and breathed in the fresh air. She did not need to breathe, but she wanted to feel it. Aaron followed her in silence. They walked along the edge of the water where children played and wind moved across the grass. No one looked at her strangely. No one called her a machine. They just smiled and returned to their lives. She sat under a tree and placed her hand on the ground. Warmth filled her fingers. Real warmth, not from metal or wires, from life. Aaron sat beside her. He wanted to say something, but stopped. She spoke first. I feel something strange here. What? He asked. PC nodded and looked out over the lake. So, what happens now? She turned to him. I think I stay. I think I find out who I really am without war, without orders, without fear. He smiled for the first time in days and Mesh looked at him for a long time. You can stay or you can go, but wherever you go, I will remember you, and I will remember the one person who gave me a chance. Aaron stood and walked a few steps away. He looked back at her one last time. You were never just a tool. She smiled gently. Neither were you. Left that day, back to his ship, back to the stars. But something had changed in him, too. He no longer ran from memories. He no longer feared machines with soft voices. He understood now. Some souls are made of flesh, some of metal, but both can feel, both can care, both can break, and both can heal. Years passed on. The colony stories spread of a woman with silver skin and soft eyes. She helped fix machines no one else could understand. She taught children how to fly drones and plant trees. She laughed often. She never spoke of war. She never spoke of the past. Every night she stood under the stars and looked up, not searching, just remembering. One morning, a new ship landed near the lake. Dust rose as the engines cooled. A familiar figure stepped out, tired eyes, scarred hands. Aaron. She saw him and did not move. He walked to her slowly. No rush, no fear. When he reached her, he spoke only once. I found home, she answered. Without words, she only reached out and took his hand, and together they walked back toward the lake. Not machine and soldier, not AI and human, just two souls learning how to live.